Hello everyone. Today we are going to start a new chapter from the Stars book, Evans Tries an O Level by Colin Dexter. It's a drama. Let's see here. So, Evans Tries an O Level by Colin Dexter. Today we are going to start Module 1. Friend, in your mind there is a doubt what could be the meaning of Evans Tries an O Level. So here a person named Evans is going to complete an O-level course in German language. And who is here Evans? That we'll see here in the story. So let's see start the story. Okay. So the writer Colin Dexter, he was born 29 September 1930 and died 21st March 2017. Colin Dexter was a British crime writer who is known for Inspector Endeavour Morse, who appears in detective novels authored by him. Dexter has received many awards and accolades, including 2 Silver Daggers and 2 Gold Daggers and a Cartier Diamond Dagger for lifetime achievement in 1997. He was conferred with the 1996 Macavity Award for his story Evans Tries an O-Level. Today we are going to continue. In the year 2000, he was appointed an officer of the Order of British Empire for his service to literature. So this was the life journey of Colin Dexter. Let's see the story. Evans tries an O level. But before starting the story, there is a question: should criminals in prison be given the opportunity of learning and education? Friend, in your mind, there is a doubt as we all know that the criminals, but the government, most of the countries, they are providing facilities for them, learning and education in their cell too also. But after reading the story, in your mind there is a doubt whether government should provide the facilities for learning and education to these criminals or not. So let's see here story. Introduction. The story Evans Tries an O-Level, written by Colin Dexter, is an interesting story depicting how a prisoner called James Roderick Evans befools all the officers of the prison to escape under a well-laid out plan. Despite the best efforts of the prison authorities, Evans is able to escape. In this battle of wits between him and the prison authorities, he has the last laugh. So here we are going to see there is a clash of wit. Means Evans is just going to beat them in their authority, in their power, and so on. Let's see here. And after all, he has the last laugh. There are theme of the story: clash of wit, intelligence and deception, appearance versus reality. So these are the themes. Let's see the story. Okay, first of all, the characters of the story, they are HM Prison, Oxford. Actually, the story is set up in HM Prison, Oxford, and this was a prison from 1888 to 1996. This was a prison. Next, after that, James Roderick Evans, he was a prisoner, secretary of the examination board, a higher official of the examination board, the governor of HM Prison, Oxford, Mr. Jackson, a prison officer, Mr. Stephens, a prison officer, Reverend Stuart McClary, and invigilator, actually he was a parson, Mr. Carter, a detective superintendent, and Mr. Bell, a detective chief inspector. So these are the characters of the story. Let's see the story. Okay, the first scene here, as the story starts, there is a call. The governor who just calls to the secretary of examination board, and he receives a call from Oxford HM prison. And what's going on in their call? Let's see here. What request did the Secretary of the Examination Board receive from the Governor of Oxford Prison? The Secretary of Examination Board received the request as to create an examination center in the prison for one candidate named James Roderick Evans. James Roderick Evans, the name, it sounded rather grand. Actually, the governor, he introduced the prisoner by the name of James Roderick Evans, just like a gentleman, just like a big person, but he is not, he is a criminal who escaped thrice from the prison. But governor is telling just like a very good person, he's just telling his name, James Roderick Evans. Actually, here the writer used an irony by the words James Roderick Evans when governor described this information to the secretary of the examination board. He had started diet classes in O-level German last September. from the last September, Evans had started his night classes in O-level German. So he was the only one in the class. He was keen to get some sort of academic qualification. Okay, so these are the information that here governor is passing to secretary of the examination board. After that, what inquiry did the secretary of the examination board make about Evans? What did the governor tell him about Evans? The secretary asked if Evans was a violent sort of person or not. The governor replied that there was no record of violence of Evans. Actually, Evans was a quite pleasant fellow, an amusing person. He was a good at imitation, and hence he is a star at the Christmas concert. He suffered from the desire to steal. It means he was a small thief, and by the desire to steal, by that little thievery, he is suffering here. He is not a big criminal, so there is no need of worry. Somewhere, governor is hiding a fact. So, what facts about Evans did the governor of Oxford prison not reveal to the secretary of the examination board? What was the fact? The fact was Evans the Bragg. Actually, Evans here, he was called Evans the Bragg by the prison officers. He had escaped from prison thrice already. That's why all the prison officers, they just called him Evans the Bragg. And by this name, he is famous into the complete cell. After that, before commencing the examination, Evans O-level study, as the governor introduced that he from the last September he is continuing his study and he is taking night classes. So his tutor on the last day he was just saying him good luck, guten Glück in German language. And after that, who met Evans on the eve before the examination? What does this brief interview reveal? Evans' German teacher who shook him by the hand and wished him good luck in German language. Guten Glück. Evans remarked that he might surprise everybody. Evans also remarked to his German teacher as he might surprise everybody. Actually, here Evans' words, they are also just like words. Really, in future he will surprise to everybody. But that we'll see in the future. Okay, these remarks prove quite meaningful and prophetic to hear, as he remarked. After that, when the tutor went away, the governor, he just made sure, ensured foolproof arrangement in Evans' cell or not. And that's why he sent here Mr. Jackson and Mr. Stephens to inspect his cell completely. How did governor ensure the foolproof arrangement in Evans' cell before commencement of the examination? Mr. Jackson and Mr. Stephens visited Evans' cell. They visited him to ensure that he did not retain any potential weapon with him. Mr. Stephens was asked to take away the razor after Evans had shaved himself. It means Mr. Jackson informed Mr. Stephens that he should remove all the pointed instruments from Evans' cell, even his nail scissor, nail files too. So these are the precautions they are just following here before commencing the Evans examination. Okay, so but there is a mystery of hat. Evans had a hat, and he just wished before the Mr. Jackson that he will wear his hat in his examination. Why? It's the only one thing that's ever brought me any sort of luck in life, kind of luck and charm. It means that hat is a very lucky hat, and that will help me in my examination. And with the help of this hat, I will just score a flying color in my examination. Mr. Jackson just gave him permission to add his hat in his examination. Okay. After that, as the examination day came here, and what happened? Reverend Stuart McClary, who comes to invigilate. Actually, here Stuart McClary, he is a parson, and from the church, he is just deputed to invigilate Evans' examination. So, on the day of examination, when he just came here, what were the contents of the small brown suitcase that McClary carried? Because everywhere the precaution is just going to follow. So, even also his materials is going to check, and Mr. Jackson checked, and what did he find? It had sealed question paper envelope, a yellow invigilation form, a special authentication card from the examination board, a paper knife, a Bible, and a current copy of the church Times. So these are the materials that he had in his brown suitcase. Okay, except the last two articles, the rest were related to his morning duties as invigilator. So these things are here he had. And what are the last two articles here that Mr. Jackson had doubt? They are What was the object on McClary's suitcase that puzzled Mr. Jackson? How did McClary react to Mr. Jackson's query? Mr. Jackson found a small semi-inflated rubber ring. And what's the use of semi-inflated rubber ring in the examination? Jackson asked McClary if he was thinking of going for a swim. McClary was unable to Emmanuel. He answered Jackson somewhat sharply and told him he suffered from piles. That's why he brought here semi-inflated rubber ring. There is no use of and there is no desire. He is just going for a swim. It's not like that. Okay. So the doubt is cleared and the examination is going to schedule like as at 30 a.m. inspection of cell as Mr. Jackson and Stephens observed, and at 45 Reverend Stuart McClary left his flat and he reached here. 9:10 the governor switched on the receiver. It means everything is going on very smoothly. And what happened then after the examination commences? The examination begins, and when it begins, McClary asked something to Evans. What instruction did the letter issue to the examinee before the examination? If he had got a watch or not, when to start, and again when he had 5 minutes left. Write the name of the paper 021-1 in the top left hand corner and his index number 313 in the top right hand corner. Just below that, write his center number 271. So these are the formalities that he has to fill in his question paper. Okay. So as this exam smoothly commences here, 9:25 a.m. the examination begins. 9:40 a call from examination board. 10:45 Stephens observed the cell. In time to time, Stephen also observed the cell. After that, 10:50, general found to be forgotten. 11:20, 5 minutes remain, and 11:25, examination over. But in between of all these times, there also happened something. What? Let's see here. What was the impact of the 2 phone calls the governor received after a quarter of an hour of the start of the examination? In mid of the examination, there also governor received 2 phone calls. And what were the means of that phone calls? The first was from the assistant secretary of the examination board. It was about a correction slip in the O-level German paper. The word golden lion was to replace golden lion. And the second was from the magistrate's court. They needed a prison van and a couple of prison officers for a remand test. So somewhere these 2 phone calls are also linked with Evans' plan of escape. It means as this examination is not Evans, actually this is completely a plan of Evans to escape from this prison. Evans in real is not going to take a course in O-level. Whatever he just took here, he just wished to O-level course and so on. All these things are his plan. They are the part of his plan to escape from this prison. Okay. Today, what's going on here? Let's see here. After the phone calls, what did Stephen notice on looking through the peephole of Evans' cell? Time to time, Stephen also observed in Evans' cell. And what did he notice? Evans sitting with his pen between his lips. He was staring straight in front of him towards the door. Opposite him sat McClary also. His eyes were fixed at the Church Times. It means the newspaper that he brought with him. His right index finger was hooked beneath the narrow clerical collar, and the fingers of the left hand were slowly stroking the short black beard. All these activities Stephen observed into the cell. Who was the phone calls 3 minutes before the end of the examination meant for? How important did it prove? So there was the last phone calls, and the last phone calls are also very important. The phone calls was meant for Stephens. The governor wanted to speak to him. Stephens had to accompany McClary to the main prison gates. He was to see the door locked on Evans after McClary had left the cell. It was also important for Evans. He could make swift changes and adjustment in his dress and makeup. This thing is also important for Evans. Okay. So as the examination over and Stuart McClary went away, after that Stephen, when he just departed McClary, he just came again here and observed into Evans' cell. And what did he notice on coming back to the cell of Evans? What did he assume? Stephen saw a man sprawling in Evans' chair. The front of his closely cropped, irregularly tuft hair was covered with red blood. It had dripped already through the small black beard. It was now spreading over the white clerical collar and down into the black clerical front. He assumed that Evans had hit McClary and left the prison, imprisoning him. So somewhere he has doubt that the person who went away from the prison was not McClary, he was Evans, and the person who is into the cell, they actually he is McClary, and he is in injured condition. So immediately he informed to the governor, and the next thing we'll see into the next module. So I hope that you understood this module very well. Now this is time for question for practice. Let's see them. First of all, the first question is that why did Evans decide to take the O-level exam? To keep his hat on his head, to study, to add his academics, to plan an escape from the prison. So answer option number D is right, to plan an escape from the prison. Next, what kind of person was Evans? Kleptomaniac, pleasant personality and a tendency to mislead, stealing habit, all these. So Evans was all of these personalities he had. Next, after that, why was Evans called Evans the Brave? Because of his pleading personality, because he kept his hat on his head, for escaping from prison thrice, all these. So the right answer is C, for escaping from prison thrice. Last, what two purpose did the correction slip serve? To give correct names of hotel to Evans and exact date and time to Evans, to exam to Evans. So the option number A is right. Okay, so let's see the assignment time. Question number 1, why was James Roderick Evans called Evans the Brave? Next, what kind of person was Evans? Next, what were the precautions taken for the smooth conduct of the examination? And the last, did the governor and his staff finally heave a sigh of relief? So student, I hope that you understood this module very well. See you soon. Thanks for watching.